Did you guys watch this game?
No, I don't watch any football.
Oh my gosh. What? Do you know that BYU is in the top 10?
I'm busy watching myself on Saturday evenings on the Radio Free Mormon premiere, so I can be there with everybody who's in the live chat having a great time.
You're right. I'm telling you, this is looking like my freshman year at BYU, which was 1984. BYU was number 1 in the nation. Bo Diddley Tech, Bryant Gumbalt. I mean, I was just telling my co-host Landon, I remember the day I was in child development class at BYU, huge lecture hall. Somebody came running in the back door and said, "We're number 1." The cheers erupted. The books were thrown in the air. And then he said, Bryant Gumball called us. Did I just say Gumball? I think I did.
I think you've been saying it several times.
I'm so sorry. You know who I'm talking about.
Just call them Gumballs and be done with it.
The sportscaster. Anyway, he has said, "Who are they?" Bo Diddley Tech, and everybody had that righteous anger, gotta get him, and it was a very exciting time, and I think we're headed that way again. But the big holy war, the rivalry, there's been all kinds of commentary on this. Yeah.
Can I interrupt you just to say?
Sure, go ahead.
Remember when just earlier this year we had not one but 2 news stories about how BYU was having quarterback problems this year?
There were several stories, yes.
Looks like they're doing okay in spite of it.
Yeah, I feel like they've repented and moved on. That's exactly it. So they won this game. I actually watched a little of it and then fell asleep. I thought, oh, Utah's up. And then when I woke up in the morning, it was like, oh gosh, okay, I guess it just didn't work out. But there's been some.
Did they win? Oh, so University of Utah was up, but they lost.
Yes, that's exactly.
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
Yes, University of Utah was up, so I felt it was safe to go to sleep. And then when I woke up, BYU had won. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes. But anyway, some interesting things happened here. So one of the big controversies, like I said, had to do with reverence. Here's the headline: Utah football player apologizes for warming up during the prayer at BYU after Senator Mike Lee and other fans criticize him. So what we're talking about,
Rebecca, I've never been to a BYU football game. Do they all announce that we're going to have an opening prayer throughout the stadium and everybody's supposed to bow their heads? Is that how it goes?
Oh, they pray for everything. When I was at BYU, I went to a B-52s concert and they started with prayer. Please,
so there's somebody who's announcing it.
Back, Lord, please. Yeah, no, they start everything with a prayer. Yeah, everything starts with a prayer. Okay. And everyone who goes there knows that you take a minute and you stop, right? But this guy, he's the kicker. When does he have a chance to warm up? He needs to be on the field. Yeah. Usually the rest of the players are on there all warming up. So they say thousands of fans bowed their head and closed their eyes to pray, but Utah kicker Dylan Curtis continued his warm up. So the microphone is going, thank you for this day. And he's kicking the ball. He's kicking the ball, right? How can God possibly hear our prayer if he's kicking the ball, right?
Yeah.
So somebody who was also not closing their eyes during the prayer filmed this, right? Made a little video and posted it, right? Kind of saying, this is so disrespectful. And then who picked up on it? Who do you think we're talking about? We're talking about Mike Lee, right? And he reposted it and he said, would you say it's poor form to do this during the pregame opening prayer at a religious university? Right? So he's kind of stirring the pot there. And he even went on to say, I didn't take the video, because some people answered back and said, well, what about the person filming the video? I didn't take the video, he wrote, but honestly, at least whoever did it wasn't being disruptive by doing so, right? Because in his mind, somebody warming up on the field during all the pregame stuff going on is disruptive. Hard to say the same about that player, right? So this went on for a day or so.
President Eyring can keep his eyes open during all the prayers and general conference. Why can't this guy warm up a little bit? He's going to have to be kicking off in just a few seconds, isn't he?
That's exactly it. And I mean, my first thought was, it's a huge, long pregame thing going on. There's announcements, and also, maybe he had earbuds in. Nobody knows what was going on.
He got a helmet on.
He even recognized that there was a prayer going on. And so he didn't say anything for a couple days, but once Mike Lee put it out there and everybody was weighing in, he said on Wednesday after the game, right? This is the kicker himself, said, I've been debating for a few days whether I make a comment on me kicking during the prayer, right? Thank you. There he is. I mean, look at this cute kid, right? It's just a kid kicking during the prayer. And at first I decided just to let it blow over, but I realized that isn't the right thing to do, he wrote. Yeah, because a bunch of crazy people are giving you a bunch of backlash on it. So he took the upper the upper hand. And he said, took the high road. I just wanted to apologize to anybody I offended. I really didn't mean anything negative by it, and especially didn't have harsh intentions. I was just warming up when my coaches told me to warm up.
That's the thing. His coach told him to warm up. This is just like you said, it's a kid playing a college sport. Yep. He's doing what his coaches told him. By the way, I'll just note the difference between him and LDS church leaders. He's willing to apologize. Yep. It's amazing.
He did nothing wrong. But I think seeing people being upset is like, I'm going to cool this down and just say, I'm sorry. You say that, when you're faced with kind of this crazy thing. So, but no, his coach said, get out there, take a couple kicks, right? Do it. And so if anything, they should be going after the coach. How dare you disrespectfully send your player onto the field? So interestingly, I told you this got bigger. A former Utah kicker, Andy Phillips, who is LDS, a member of the church, he came to Curtis's defense and he said, Mike, come on, you're a senator, Phillips told the Salt Lake Tribune. You've got a huge following, you're a public figure, and you're taking time out of your day to call this 18-year-old kid out and making an assumption about something that maybe is fair or maybe not fair. He said a kicker has a hard time finding an opportunity to warm up because you have to, be out there on the field when all the other players are often out there. And also he said that kicking routines are different every time you have an away game. So he says we have to have some empathy. And also what I just said, maybe he had his earbuds in. He definitely maybe said to himself, I'm just going to go kick a couple times and I'll be ready to go. He also made the point, it's also the beauty of this country. He doesn't have to participate in any sort of form of worship if he doesn't want to. It also doesn't mean that he shouldn't be respectful of it. So it's interesting.
Do the Mormons think their stadium is a freaking chapel?
They're saying a prayer over the loudspeaker, which again, how reverent can that really be? I mean, honestly, like I said, they will pray. They prayed at a Chicago concert I went to. They prayed at the B-52s. They pray at everything. Yeah. So that was any other comments on that? And then I'll move on to the next exciting thing that happened during the game.
I think this guy who looks like Johnny Whitaker in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters.
Oh, I love that.
I think he needs to file a complaint that the prayer was interrupting his warm-up.
Yeah, that could be it too.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a football game. At least he's doing something, has something to do with why everybody's there.
Exactly.
It's in a football stadium.
Yep.
Sorry.
I don't know how to say this without saying a little bit of unfair language, but it's I can't come up with any other words to do it. I think of Mike Lee in the same vein as I think of Carden Ellis. Like they're both just douche canoes, and I don't have a better phrase.
Can you say that on the air?
I had one, I'd use it, but they both just come off to me as just pompous jerks.
Well, they're pompous, they're jerks, and they're always dying to take offense at something, so that they can assume victim status, because being the fragile one is the acme in our society, right, Bill? Being the victim is to be on the top of the mountain.
Yeah. But I am really surprised that the coach didn't weigh in and say, oh, yeah, I sent my kicker out there. I mean, he's not going to go randomly do something on his own. He's going to follow his coach at an away game, and he's going to do what he's instructed to do, which is what he said. So anyway, it was an interesting take. So